Did you get enough sleep last night? Maybe you did, actually, because we've got a lot of people on holiday today. But do you get a good night's sleep in general? What do you need to know about sleep? And are there some myths that we're all going along with that we really need to check out? With more on this, let's go to New York City and join Dr. Rebecca Robbins. She's a researcher and co-author of Sleep for Success. Hi, doctor. How you doing?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm going to start off with a little story about myself because I think it leads right into the first topic of discussion here. And I used to work, Dr. Robbins, on a TV morning show. So I'd have to wake up at 3:30 or 4 a.m., and I spent like 6 years not getting what I felt was enough sleep. And just last week, I went out for lunch with some old colleagues, and they looked at me as soon as I showed up, and they're like, are you dyeing your hair? Like, they honestly thought that I would look like a changed person. And the only thing that's changed is that I actually get a decent amount of sleep. What can you tell us about people that only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep? There's, some people say, 5 hours is enough. Is it?
This is one of our myths. It's number one, actually. We find that generally in our course of our work as sleep researchers, we encounter people with questions that have led us to believe that these myths have gone unchecked for too long. So the number one is the belief that there's some people who can get by and be fine on 5 hours of sleep at night. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, all of the evidence shows to the contrary, that we do definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, need between 7 and 8 hours for optimal health, well-being, and you touched on another one of the outcomes. Our appearance can change if we consistently keep an insufficient sleep schedule.
And what about things that we do before getting to bed? I hear so many things, you should do this before you go to bed, or this is, like you need to unwind and do this. But some of this stuff is kind of nonsense when it comes to what we can drink before bed or activities we do before bed. What works, what doesn't when it comes to before bedtime?
Great question. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just select a bedtime and flip our brain off like a switch and fall right to sleep? But it really is a process, and what we do right before bed matters for the quality and the quantity of our sleep. So really, from when we wake up, believe it or not. So getting exercise over the course of the day is one of the really great ways to make sure that your sleep is sound at night. One of our myths has to do with the timing of exercise. For a while, we thought that you had to exercise a number of hours before bed. So, 4 p.m. or earlier to not interrupt or damage the sleep that you're going to get that night. But we actually put this as a myth because the evidence doesn't suggest this. The evidence just resoundingly shows that people who exercise get better sleep, but it doesn't necessarily matter the timing. Now, in addition to exercise, alcohol, another one of our myths is that a nightcap is a good thing to help you go to sleep. And
well, it's called the nightcap. It's called the nightcap. It must be good for nighttime.
Yes, exactly. But we just find this to be a belief that's kind of passed down from generation to generation, and there's not evidence to support it. We do know that one small dose of alcohol might help you fall asleep, but consumed much more than that, and body mass really plays a big role here. So someone who's quite thin might have damaging implications. This might damage their sleep even if they have a small dose of alcohol. But by and large, consuming alcohol will ruin the quality of your sleep. It causes interruptions to various stages of sleep over the course of the night. So you'll wake up, maybe it'll help you fall asleep, but you will wake up and still be tired because it hasn't been restful sleep.
Yeah, and speaking of having that restful sleep, of late, there's a lot of focus on screens, right? And having that glowing rectangle next to your bed, your smartphone's always next to your bed. You look at it, and I'm guilty of this. The last thing I do before I go to bed, generally speaking, is look at my smartphone. First thing when I wake up is look at the smartphone because it's my alarm clock as well. Right? So how is it really that damaging?
Now, before bed, one of the best things to do is start a bedtime ritual. We call them rituals because if they're practiced ritualistically every night, you have a set of things that you do, whether it's read a couple pages in a book, do a breathing exercise, commit to maybe reflecting on one really good thing that happened on your day, in the course of your day. So finding whatever's relaxing to you can help you kind of switch from daytime go mode to nighttime sleep, kind of starting to switch off the mind. Now, screens are damaging for sleep for two reasons. The first is the blue light that you touched on. Many of these screens emit bright blue spectrum light. And when the light that we're exposed to is on the blue spectrum, that is one of the strongest cues to our circadian rhythm to become alive and awake when you're trying to be powering down your mind. So then you're fighting your physiology subsequently. Now, the second reason is what we're doing is often stressful or at least, exciting to the brain. We're seeing lots of beautiful pictures on social media. We're getting information, or maybe a work-related email comes in that's stressful and your cortisol spikes. So all of those things are what we don't want to be doing before bed. So it's best to pick, a set of routines and practice them ritualistically, and you might find that you slip into sleep faster if you're diligent about that.
Speaking with Dr. Rebecca Robbins about sleep. Doctor, I want to ask you, modern smartphones, a lot of them have this sort of night shift mode where they turn on, where they try to reduce the blue lights and the screen becomes a little bit more warmer and orangey in the colors. Does that help at all? Do you know if that's actually a way to cut out if cutting out that blue light in that way actually helps?
Great question. Some very expert scientific colleagues of mine have developed some of those applications. So they vary in integrity. So the ones that are developed by scientists and really validated to ensure that the blue light is removed are great. Some of the sunglasses or the glasses you can wear at night, for instance, have that level of blue blocking. But essentially, we come back to the second point that what we're doing on those screens is stimulating. But as a stopgap measure, if you have to be up and have to work on a report into the wee hours of the morning, life happens. So of course, we realize that all of these recommendations are kind of the best case scenario, how to implement good sleep strategies, and that knowledge is very important. But realizing that life does happen, and sometimes deadlines come up that are unavoidable. So some of those tools can be good in those cases.
Doctor, I don't have much more time here, but let's say you're one of those people that gets to bed, they put their head on the pillow, and then it's half an hour later, they're still there. They haven't fallen asleep. What's the best way to deal with insomnia?
Here's what you do, and this one of our myths is lying in bed and if you can't sleep, it's better to lie in bed than get up. Now, this is a myth. It's kind of one of these old wives' tales that has persisted, but it's one of the worst things you can do. It's like going to the gym and standing on the treadmill, but not running. So if you're lying in bed and sleep isn't coming, similarly, you want to get up and you want to change the environment. It's one of our best strategies and solutions for people who struggle with insomnia, because if you're staying in bed and tossing and turning, you're starting to associate your bed with something that's stressful, like insomnia and sleep not coming. So you want to change the environment, do something boring, leave the room, go into the living room, fold socks, do something mindless, but keep the lights low and go back to bed when you're tired.
All right. We'll have to leave it there. Fun insight, Dr. Robbins. And like I said, getting some more sleep for me totally changed my life. Thanks for joining us.
I'm delighted to hear it. Keep it up. Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Rebecca Robbins is a researcher and co-author of Sleep for Success.